Hi, everybody. It's Alex Jarett again with another leadership briefing, this time with John Szeder. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you again. And for those of you who don't know John, John is a technology leader and chief technology officer focused on high volume applications for both consumer and enterprise applications. And John, I remember when you first joined the Board of Advisor program, we were real excited again about you doing a series called Building and Retaining Elite Engineering Teams, which is one of your focus areas, right? So thanks ahead
Yes.
of time for doing that. And today's leadership briefing is called Success with Engineering Leadership Promotions. And before we get started, let me just remind everybody, if you like today's leadership briefing, be sure and watch all of our briefings at technologyexecutivesclub.com. There's also a link to both of our podcast channels. Okay, success with engineering leadership promotions. And we were just kind of getting ready for this. And you were saying, imagine battlefield promotions. What are we talking about here in this segment, John?
So, through the course of somebody's career, you're going to find that you're going to get a battlefield promotion. And what do I mean by that, right? That's somebody in your organization is left. They don't want to bring in somebody new from the outside because they want to either reward the troops or, they want to have somebody who's got specific domain expertise and you've really impressed leadership that you get your shot at the bat, right? It's like, hey, you get to step in here and do this role. So, you get promoted to a director of engineering or a vice president of engineering, and they want you to have expanded scope and responsibilities to solve problems for the organization.
Yeah.
And so, I call it a battlefield promotion, right? Suddenly everyone's going to be looking to you to lead the charge and be in charge of the day-to-day
Oh, I see.
and figuring everything out, right? Happens very quickly and often very abruptly. And a lot of the times you're in the middle of doing something really important, which is what necessitates the need for it to happen right now.
This is a really good insight. I remember for my own career, and I was in the sales and marketing side of things, and then I went into other areas. But I remember I've had some people, like you said, oh, we need a new manager, and he was awesome. Best manager I ever had. And then I've had other situations where, like you said, battlefield promotion, just because someone's great in their job doing the thing, they could be the worst manager helping other people do their thing because they're trying to say, hey, this is how to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If someone gets into this situation, they just got the battlefield promotion, they're all happy, the celebration is over. Now they sit back in their office and say, hey, oh my gosh, what do I do? Yeah, now what? Yeah. So what are right away? What are the steps that you recommend?
So there's a couple things that you can do, and mostly the number one thing I recommend everybody to do is to do some fact finding and research, right?
Okay.
Take a step back, understand what your new leadership role requires, understand what's the difference between what you did yesterday and what you're doing tomorrow, and spend today figuring out what the difference is between those two things. And the sooner you understand that they're different, the better off you'll be. If you're in a large enough organization, maybe they have some support and training. Some companies have, other people's in a similar role or a superior role. You can have some, discrete conversations with that are confidential that will help you grow. Other times you got to go and find somebody out there who's had this role before. And this is something I've done for a lot of people, which is to be like a sounding board and to sit down and say, okay, here's what's different. This is what you did yesterday. This is why you got rewarded, but this is what you have to do tomorrow. And understand that some of it's going to be creating new habits for success and taking the old habits that you've done and saying, I need to stop these behaviors because while they're a default, because that's what I was good at, they're going to hurt me in my new role.
So let's talk about that because, we want to give somebody concrete that they can do. So first of all, step one is sit back and say, how is my role different? And be conscious of the fact that you're a manager now and the role is different. So I think that's really good advice. And the second step is what are some good habits? So what would be some examples of really good habits and how they go about finding what all these different habits should be?
Absolutely. It's when you're going from, individual contributor to manager or manager to director, you're having a lot of changes in the things that you do. And like the first one is to sit down and figure out how often should you be meeting with people and what should you be doing, right?
Mm,
Like one of the things that I've seen for a number of engineering leaders is an inability to conduct an effective one-on-one. That's usually the one that gets a lot of people because
really?
the first time somebody becomes a manager and they start doing their one-on-ones, they're like, I'm going to start having these one-on-ones because my boss had one with me, and it starts turning into a status update, which is not what a one-on-one should be, right? You know,
That's
a one-on-one
interesting.
should be for somebody to learn and to grow and to get feedback, right? It's when the guy comes out to talk to the pitcher on the mound, to buy him some time to calm down and think about what needs to happen at the game. Not necessarily to say, hey, dude, the way you're throwing that pitch is weird and you need to do something different, right?
Well,
That's
maybe
the
they need
worst
to
time
hear
to do
that
that,
one.
right?
But I think I
Exactly.
love that analogy. So the coach walks up to the mound and I think it would be helpful to know, hey, maybe you should ease up on this pitch and get another one. But I
Mhm.
think they probably do have that conversation. But to walk up there and say, you know what, dude, I've been looking at your salary and your stats for the last couple of games in the middle of the game. I'm
Right.
not sure that's the right conversation to have at that time. It really is
Exactly.
a different conversation. How would you define a one-on-one, and what's a
Mhm.
successful one-on-one look and feel like? What is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the instant I start leading a team and I start my one-on-ones, I give everyone the same speech, which is "This is your one-on-one speech," right?
Oh, I love
And
that.
understanding for everybody that I tell them this is your time. This is not my time. This is not the company time. This is your time. This is when you're going to get above and beyond your paycheck. This time is where you're going to learn and grow. And however you want to spend this time is going to benefit you. So whether you're here to ask me questions about issues of the day or what you have to do to get promoted next year, or maybe you just want to read
Uh-huh.
poetry to me for 30 minutes, I will
Yeah.
accept that because this is your time. And people chuckle at that, but I want them to understand that, right? When people come into something and start giving me, reading JIRA tickets and stuff like that, I stop it and say, this is not the meeting for that. This is your one-on-one, right? And tell people that because it's their time, it's up to them how to use it or if they want to use it at all. I've had the best engineers every once in a while will say, hey, I'm busy today. I don't need my one-on-one. That's the number one indicator of a successful employee who's on a good path, who understands that they've got stuff to do and they don't need anything from you right now. If I have an engineer who always takes their one-on-one and they don't use that time effectively, but they're like, it's on the calendar and they just want to sit and talk for random things for a little while, that gets a little weird. But for somebody to sit down and say, I don't need this and I'm confident in things, the other extreme is if somebody's ducking their one-on-ones for 4 weeks, you're probably going to get a resignation pretty soon. So it's like
That's interesting
a
because they
mix
don't
of a
want you to
signal,
feel it
right?
out. Yeah, you could.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like I
yeah.
don't want them to know that I'm on my way out of here, and I don't want to give feedback as to why I'm leaving. I just want to quit my job and run, right? And so sitting down and using your one-on-one as a success indicator for your role as a manager, and for somebody to feel confident that they're learning the things that they want, right? And what does a successful one-on-one look like for the organization? Your engineering retention numbers go up. People want to quit less. They want to stay with the company longer. They want to keep doing things because you're providing them feedback as part of their day to day, and that's a really valuable thing.
That's a great tip. So definitely do the one-on-ones and remember these aren't reviews. These are really giving your employee time to express how it's going for them and any challenges or how they feel, what's doing great.
Mhm.
That's a great insight. What would be another big tip similar to like start doing the one-on-ones?
I am a big fan of Socratic leadership, right? Why did you do this? Why do you
Uh-huh.
think that happened? Where is this going? What is the reason you're doing this, right? And don't tell people things, ask people things. What do you think about this plan? Do you think that we're going to ship this on time? Why do you think
Mm,
that we missed on the last sprint, right? Ask people questions. Don't come up to somebody and say, hey, you know what, we missed on the last sprint. These three people didn't do their things. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. Say, what do you think happened here? And give them an opportunity to think through the problem, especially if you can ask people questions about what you should be doing in your job so they start thinking like you do in your new role, right?
that's really
That's the
interesting.
that's one of the things that I do for a lot of people, which is to give them the tools to think about what the road ahead looks like,
Yeah.
right? And sitting down and saying, I'm not just here to teach you how to do your job today. What I want to do is I want to prepare you to have my job in 3 or 5 years' time.
Oh, I like that phrase. That's a
Yeah.
great phrase. So real quickly, how do you develop the trust so they give you real and complete answers?
The best way to do that for me has been identifying with people. Empathy is a really, really big thing. It's this big EQ push in engineering leadership and emotional IQ, right? And the number one thing that I identify with a lot of the people is I've been in their shoes before. It's like, I've been exactly where you are right now. And I see how this is going, especially when you're having somebody who's either confrontational or struggling with their new role. And, for the occasional person who's in that situation, I say, look, I've been where you are right now. And the road that you're on right now, it's not going to end well in this many months because I've been where you are right now.
Yeah.
And I don't want the same thing that happened to me to happen to you, and I want to help you get through it. So if you're interested in having a conversation about what you could do differently, you tell me, and I'll be here to answer your questions and to give you feedback and advice. But if you want to commit to the path that you're on and you want to do this and you think you got this all figured out, by all means, take that opportunity. And you'd be surprised what a shock that can be to some people to hear that and say, look, I can help you, or you can do your own thing, right? We're on a team here and I want to do my part, but you got to do yours too. And that makes a big deal for a lot of people. And it gets around really fast and people really start opening up. You know that you're successful with that when you have people coming up and saying, hey, I don't know if I should keep my... And I don't know if I should have this job anymore. Or I should stay here. I don't know that this is good for my career. Maybe I should go do something somewhere else or something like that. And they ask you questions about that so that they can get the pros and the cons about what they're doing on their day to day and trying to figure that out. And when you have that conversation with people, then you know that they deeply trust you to do the right thing for them.
Yeah. And that takes time to build that. Emotional IQ, I used to always joke around. I was a C student, and for many years in emotional, like that guy got up to a B. I think I'm at a B now. But it's so important. It's so important for leading teams. And I think the tip that you just gave on the difference between empathy and sympathy is a really big thing. I know you got one more quick tip about getting a coach. Go ahead and give that tip.
Yeah, and understand that you're not alone, right? Lots of people have done this before, and you can find somebody in your network or yours truly, if you like. You can ask questions and say, hey, I'm new to my role. I need some help. Here's some things I'm struggling with. And sitting down and figuring out what the issues are, what are the things you can do, and getting to a good place and saying, okay, this is what you need to do next. And, there's always people out there who can answer those questions.
Yep.
And I was at an engineering leadership group a while ago, and I asked how many people are mentoring, and nearly everyone in the room put up their hand. I said, how many of you have a mentor? And 3 people out of 100 put up their hand, right? And that was a really interesting moment for me. And I'm like, you got to look in the mirror and think about this a little bit. And a couple of people came up to me afterwards. It's like, what? I'd never thought about it. I've been so busy giving and dispensing advice that I never thought that maybe perhaps anyone could need that for myself.
Yeah. That's a great tip. So seek out a mentor. And John, thanks for making that offer. If somebody's watching this and they need some advice, feel free to reach out to John. So John, it's been a great segment. We appreciate you doing this series, and I'll look forward to the next one.
You bet. Always a pleasure.